Hello, good evening. My name is KarQ. Welcome to a weekly episode of Suggestions Box, where people leave a suggestion of that they want in the game of Overwatch 2, and we check if we like them, dislike them, or if it needs more cooking in the Easy Bake Oven. Have I used that one before? I don't know. Here we go. First suggestion is to change Lifeweaver to heal better when healing on platforms. One thing about Lifeweaver is his low healing output in exchange for his high utility cost from pull to pedal. Making Lifeweaver to use his pedal more effectively by pressuring on having a faster charge rate or giving a higher healing once his pedal has elevated him, you can only get this temporary boost as long as he is on the pedal. My immediate gut reaction is no. Interesting that the perception that Lifeweaver has low healing output. He is a single target reliable healer. I think by raw healing numbers he's one of the highest, and that's considering the fact that he's mostly single target, which is kind of crazy. I think heroes like Moira have a bigger advantage for average healing per 10 because they can AoE spray the team in a clump. Depends on the comp you play in, of course, but Lifeweaver's output is not problematic at all. I think it's pretty damn high, and I don't think this is necessary to incentivize him with the platform. That being said, I am a fan of suggestions or hero kits that have interplay, where it's like if you do one thing, it benefits the other. So in this case, giving yourself a platform and buffing something in exchange for using it yourself is like a decision you have to make, where it's like, we sacrifice the movement, but I want the higher output at this current time. So it's like, you know, a trade-off, and I think resource trading is a big part of what makes a hero a lot of fun. The base idea is good, but not for Lifeweaver in this specific example, if that makes any sense. Or, sorry, the base concept is nice. Suggestion: add a rematch button in the quick play. If both teams agree to a rematch, then the rematch map will not provide MMR gains or will give reduced MMR gains, and you cannot rematch a lobby more than twice in a total of 3 games. This gives players who had a really close match the option to try again if all players agree. Bonus suggestion: extend the ending screen and bring back some version of the card system that has always felt really good at the end of the match. It really doesn't have to have medals anymore, but some sort of MVP status for certain players on both teams, that would be cool. I think the rematch is good, but like, what happens if somebody drops out? Does the lobby end? If there's no quick play MMR gain, is there a backfiller that would randomly fill in and not have their MMR affected? Because if you guys don't know, there is a quick play rating system. It's a skill-based matchmaking system in quick play, so that you're not always like noob stomping like new players if you're a seasoned player, and vice versa. New players don't get turned off if they just get rolled by experienced players. There is skill-based matchmaking, so if there's rematches and one person drops out, what happens? The game ends? If that's the last condition, then I don't see why not. I think that's kind of cool for the rare cases that happens. This is probably mostly reserved for 5 stacks who like queued into another 5-stack in quick play and had a really fun close match, and they're down for that. I like the idea, but I know Blizzard won't implement it because this is such a low priority on their giant checklist of things they have to do and add to the game. But I like it. So your next suggestion: extend the ending screen and bring back some version of the card system. It always felt good. I've always liked it. I'm surprised they removed it. I know it's too much with big corporations and doing all these optimization retention strategies where it's like, we want people to keep continuing queuing. We don't want to waste any downtime. QQQ, less what do you call it? Moments of friction and less stopping queues. The moment the game ends, you have to re-queue right away, and you don't get any of these sort of benefits. But I think there's a fine balance on it. I'm obviously no expert, but it doesn't feel good for seasoned players to lose, you know, fun things like that. And I think it's always cool to see MVP status and, you know, some sort of medal system. Like you said, it doesn't have to waste too much time with the dunk 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 with the thumbs up, because it gets a little meaningless over the years. But some sort of like, hey, this player did the best on the team, would make that specific player feel good and probably make him want to continue to queue as well. Nothing that takes too much time, but a nice re-look at that sort of level of retention where you make that person feel good. I don't see anything wrong with that. Again, this is me probably poisoning my brain with the old school RuneScape stuff. Whenever I finish a Theater of Blood raid, you check the scoreboard to see who was the MVP of that raid or any of the raid, to see if they got, you know, there is a benefit in that game to being the MVP and doing well, but like, it's always like a flex and a feel good thing for players, and I never see anything wrong with that. But again, I'm no expert, but I like both of these suggestions with those stipulations. Cool, moving on. Suggestion: Symmetra should teleport to wherever she places her teleporter automatically once it finishes placing. No. An additional change that I think that could add fun to the teleporter is rework the sim TP so its endpoint is not tied to ground placement and doesn't snap surfaces. Just a portal outlet and some sort of controllable distance away from the starting point. This way you could put the outlet of the teleporter in the air and not have to worry about having a slightly misaimed endpoint snap to a totally different surface. Okay, that first part I said no right away. However, if there was an option, well, actually, no, yeah, no automatic TP. I think right now, if you put the TP down and you hold or buffer the teleport input or the interact button, as soon as it goes down, the tick or the refresh, or the like point in the game where you're allowed to TP, you actually go through pretty much instantaneously. Like whenever it's registered and available that it's active, you hold the interact button down, you can pre-buffer it, so it kind of is automatic in that sense. But having it automatically teleport like you suggested would remove the agency or the choice of whether you want to instant TP or not. So that's why I don't want people to automatically TP. The better tip here is the common knowledge that you can pre-buffer a lot of inputs. This not only goes for Symmetra TP, this goes for like Tracer Recall, for example. If you're like slept by Tracer or by an Ana, one of the biggest tips is to just literally hold your recall button, E on the keyboard, whatever it is on console, and literally the frame or the tick that you're able to kind of like have that ability active, it already pre-buffers and will activate it by yourself instantaneously. Same with KarQ TP. I just hold the TP. When I'm in trouble, I hold the TP button down. I just swing my mouse behind me and just take the first TP I can get because it'll just register and teleport you instantly without having to re-enter the input. Next part, portable air TPs would kind of like, I feel like we could cook with that for like a different hero, but like I feel like this would also introduce a lot of bugs because you would put an endpoint which would like probably collide. Like right now you have bad snaps on the ground when you, because it's trying to fix the ground, but if you do them in the air where it's like you hold the button and the longer farther it goes, then you press it again to stop it, and that's your TP endpoint. What's stopping it from colliding with certain walls? And then if it collides with the walls, a lot of walls are one way in the game, and if they TP, does their body might get stuck. I think it would introduce a lot of bugs that they probably never want to open that can of worms, to be honest with you, because like with the walls being one way, it's less about them being lazy, it's more about being optimized. When you optimize a game for like, you know, for players to not have to download huge file sizes and make the game run smoother, they take little shortcuts or like developer tricks like that to make walls hollow. So like you don't have to load in as many textures or polygons in each match, which can also be a downside because there was a bug with Orisa's Halt in Overwatch 1. Halt was like the little graviton green ball surge that pulls people in. If it collided with the wall, just like kind of how this endpoint thing is, right? Because Orisa's Halt, actually, now that reminded me, Orisa's Halt was throw the orb, press the button again, and then it would stop there. But when it actually collided with the wall, it would automatically stop. But because the walls were one way, it would yoink people from the opposite side. So if we have this version of the Sim TP where it collides and somebody takes the TP on that endpoint, they might phase through the wall, and yeah, that's just, yeah, probably not gonna happen. So, big no here. Suggestion, Junkrat's Riptire should do partial damage on exploding if it took some damage beforehand. For example, a tire 50 HP could only do 50% damage. At 25 HP, it does 25% damage, or maybe a damage curve to test things out. No, I think it would make the ultimate way worse. If you just do a lick of damage and it no longer is in breakpoint kill threat, it makes the ultimate terrible. And Junkrat's not even in like a strong state, in my opinion. He's not like super outlier OP, and the tire is definitely a hit or miss. It's a pretty good ultimate if it connects, but it's definitely counterable, and you want to keep it that way where if you blow it up completely, it does 0. But like diminishing returns where it's like you don't commit on the kill and you just tickle it with a little bit of damage and it no longer kills, already renders it useless. So that's actually a huge nerf to the tire. That is not necessary. So a big no here. Suggestion, we need a DPS with the melee primary fire. We have Ryan and Brig, but no DPS. In general, having the next few characters not have guns for primary would be fun. I'm down. Like one that literally has to be in melee range, whether it's a swordsman or like an actual like Iron Fist, like Marvel, where they actually punch people down. Right now, obviously, you have Ryan and Brig with hammers that flail, and obviously Doomfist is a melee character, but his primary is shooting the pellets. So one that has to be up in close range would be kind of cool, but a hero like this needs to be correctly tuned, because if you have no range, you are useless until you can close the gap. Because movement in this game is very fast and dynamic, how often are you actually able to close that gap? You need a lot of mobility, get into your face. I mean, yeah, like I think they could definitely cook with it. Even a sword, even a blade, a spear, anything up close, I'm down for it. Blizzard needs one of them. They just gotta make sure they iterate it and pick some good ability kit, make a good ability kit that works well. Suggestion, a visible indicator that D.Va's has run out of matrix, a little digital doodads floating around her head or something like that. Source, I'm an Alari player. That one's tough, playing Alari into D.Va. Like I get your pain because I also play a little bit of Alari, and I play a lot of Ana into D.Va, and it's annoying. No, I don't think that's necessary, because when does D.Va actually run out of matrix? It would literally be for like a split second that it's all out, but like, you know, because like if a D.Va drains her thing, it's literally, if she turns it off, it's already refreshing instantaneously, so it just feels a bit redundant, and you don't need to like simplify the game and like make it that much more noob friendly to be like, hey, my cooldown is not available, here's a big sign. Like, I think reading cooldowns and understanding like the cooldown time between your being able to use your resource is a skill in itself. Like, if D.Va puts her matrix up and down, you have like a 1 second window, or is it 1.5 second window before she's able to reflash any sort of little bit of matrix, and you either have to like wait for that window or wait till she completely drains it or pressure her. And I think that's part of the skill expression in the game that doesn't need to be done, so no. Suggestion: Hanzo was one unused button. Reload, right? Is that what you mean? Why not give him special melee so that he can defend himself, like a small 2-3 hit combo that does 60 or 80 damage? And why not give a zoom view like scoped users? Okay, the melee weapon, like Hanzo needs weaknesses. If he's good at medium and long ranges, and he's also good up close, where does his weakness show up? Like, Widowmaker has a shitty SMG gun up close because that's not supposed to be lethal. You need heroes to have pros and cons. Or if they're all just pros, and you get an OP hero, like release Kiriko, who's strong up close, medium, and long, and healed a lot. So like, no to the Hanzo part, but giving him a zoom view like a scoped for scope users is actually something I vibe with. So I'm gonna a big X for the no part, but like an extra zoom for the scope part. I like that because it doesn't actually change the arrow projectile. It just helps your aim a little bit more at long distance with precision. And even so, you can misjudge it. It's still pretty hard to read. It just helps like people with terrible vision to look a little closer, but then you also have to account for the magnification on how far you have to lead your shot, which is like relearning a lot of him as well. So like, I'm fine with the second part, to be honest with you. And maybe it's because I play a lot of Deadlock and you're able to scope in for a lot of heroes, even snipers and stuff like that. So yeah, why not? Great Talon. And I say Great Talon, but like other heroes when they shoot bullets, they're not necessarily hit scan. You have to lead your shot, and some people are able to scope in as well. Suggestion: I think Mei is needlessly good at long range. Update the Mei right click, aka her icicle, to work how old Roadhog right click used to use. So it's a large projectile for about 15 to 20 meters, and then it breaks up into smaller shrapnel projectiles thereafter. It's a no fall off damage icicle, which is pretty good, but because of the slow fire rate and the way like people are able to heal in between, like if you get hit back to back doinks, that's a little tough, but I don't actually think it's that oppressive right now where it needs updating. That just makes her icicle way worse, in my opinion, where you have to have a large projectile and break it into shrapnel. Becomes a kind of shitty poke weapon. I don't think Mei is problematic at this current state in the current meta and how the other heroes operate and play around her. And with that being said, yeah, I got nothing to add. I don't think she needs it right now. I don't even think she's like that good. It's like a medium poke tool. There's plenty of other heroes that are stronger. Like a hit scan at medium to long range, like Ashe does pretty much the same as an icicle, but it's like hit scan, and she shoots a lot faster. Like, this is the Mei's like tool to kind of like poke in the neutral before her bread and butter, which is getting in close, walling you off, and AoE slowing you and stuff like that. Suggestion: Mercy is the hero in the most need of a rework, mostly due to her lack of proactivity. My suggestion is to make Res a Valkyrie exclusive ability that is activated by pressing the ultimate button again, and then give Mercy a version of her Mirror Watch Soul Bomb that would create a ram-like vortex like a slow and would do a little bit of damage, like 40 to 50 max. This keeps the gameplay loop still very similar while giving some proactivity to Mercy and removing some of the frustrations around her res. Listen, I say this all the time where by design, Lifeweaver and Mercy are like more reactive heroes, maybe less Weaver for now, but Mercy by nature is that, and I think that's okay. I say like Mercy is hard to climb with in a lot of cases because of that lack of proactivity, and she will never like have that like sort of like, you can have a lot of tech and like carry potential with like the movement and surviving, but it's not like a go like win button now like, you know, Kitsune and other things are. And I think that's saying that she doesn't have like those heroes don't have proactivity versus heroes that do isn't me saying that it's not necessary for the game and that it's okay. Like, I genuinely think by design they won't be hard carries, but that is okay because this is in a very global, accessible game from people different walks of life, and I think Mercy being a bit more of a passive, reactive hero is good for casuals because the heroes don't change when you play from quick play to comp. They're the same. Unless you play open queue, then like some tanks change and whatnot, right? The numbers are the same. You need to appease all players, and having a more chill hero like this where you can kind of brain off is fine for the health of the game long term. Not every hero needs to be a proactive, competitive, hard carry support god. I don't think this is necessary for Mercy right now, and I think it would upset more people than make people happy, to be honest, if you add something like this. All right, I think I yapped long enough. Thanks for listening to the suggestions box. Appreciate you all. See you guys next week. Bye.